All right, my friends. All right. How are you doing? We're going to be starting soon. We're going to be coding a Blender MCP, which we've started a while ago. And we're going to be continuing. I think the last time we worked on this was, was it on last Thursday or was it this Saturday? I don't know, but we'll be continuing on basically building a video editor that or building a set of Python files that are going to be used to edit videos in Blender. So Blender, if you don't know, is an open source, an amazing open source program that does 3D modeling, but can also do image compositing, rendering, video editing, and it's open source. It has been open source for like 25 years now, I think. I've been supporting it for a long time. I was really into Blender a couple of years ago, and it's just an amazing tool. And there is already a set of Blender MCPs, and we're actually using one to develop what we're doing. We're using, this is interesting. I thought it was going to be here. We're using a Blender MCP to basically send Python over from Cursor, and we are actually building our video editing functionality using basically a set of Python functions, and hopefully we'll be able to edit our videos by generating Python and sending it over. And so the reason I'm not doing the video editing only with MCP calls is like, A, it's faster to write Python, in the sense that like it's faster to update and refine and write Python than doing MCP calls all the time, right? Because every time you do an MCP call and you send the result back to the LLM, you're basically sending everything back and you pay for that. There's in the new APIs, the new modalities of the latest models like O3, you can actually stream tool calls, I think. I've never done it, so I'm not fully sure of what I'm talking about here. But in the sense of, if we had an MCP that was like add a strip to Blender, and then we have another one that's called like add a second strip to Blender, and we do a third call that's going to be like split the strip in the middle, we'd be like there forever, right? However, if we're able to send some Python over that says like add this strip, split them, do this, we can do it in one call, and we're able this way to build up like script files basically of things to send to Blender. And so the thing we have to do though is like the Blender API is like not well known, right? It changes pretty often. It's like not very well documented. And as such, because it is also like mostly exposing the internal data structures that Blender uses to represent the scene, it is pretty brittle for LLMs to generate, right? Like it's very easy to get stuff wrong. And like maybe this strip doesn't have an attribute that's called name. It's called like .data.name, and LLMs can quickly get them wrong. So what we've been doing and what we're going to be continuing to do is basically build a whole set of APIs that make it really hard for the LLM to do the wrong thing. And once we have a set of APIs that it's able to generate pretty easily, we can have a good context document that allows us to generate this without breakage. We'll be able to use that to edit videos. And so good APIs for editing videos would be like load strip or like split strip, but even things like add transition, right? Because if we have a function that's called add transition with a first argument that's time and a second argument is like first clip and this third argument is like second clip, then it's very easy if I say, oh, can you please transition between these two clips at like minute 5, at minute 10, at minute 11? It's very easy for the LLM to generate the right code for that because there is a function that's called add transition. So if you have good names that match what you're actually going to prompt in natural language later on, the easier it is for the LLM to do the translation. Because LLMs are translating engines, basically, right? Like they translate from one form of language to another form of language. So to get back, because I have to rewind my brain as well to remember what I was doing. I think the last thing that we had, transition usual things that I had to fix. This is turning into a mess because I'm just like doing too much stuff without cleaning it up afterwards. Especially on stream, because I tend to be pretty distracted while I stream and forget to kind of do the cleanup. This is some kind of wild code. I don't even remember what this is. Sequence Disco Fever. We're going to be doing a little bit of cleanup. I think there's like all kinds of like test programs in here. We have a folder that's called ideas. We have a folder called myPyCache and PyCache. Can we hide those in VS Code? I don't know. We're going to be, as is our usual, we're going to be creating a folder with our current date. So indeed, we can see what we did on Saturday. And what I'm going to put in to the folder from Saturday, I'm going to, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to create a folder with the test scripts, and I'm just going to move this garbage in there so that it doesn't distract us too much, and also so that the LLM tools don't find it and latch onto it. So we have that. Let's see. We are now going to look at, these are AMP code threads from the 17th as well. And we have an agent MD, which I think doesn't need all that much addition. I added a bunch of stuff. So I remember the one thing that we added is that I was struggling with a little bit is I do want to have my MCP where I send Python over, which is the Blender MCP, which we're going to be looking at. And I don't think I see it here. It's been so long since I used Blender that I actually don't remember where stuff is. But I think we have to go into the add-ons, and then Blender MCP was turned off, which I'm not sure why it's turned off. But maybe because I quit without being nice. Save changes before quitting. Sure, why not? Is it quitting? What is it doing? Okay, but we now have here a Blender MCP tab. If we go back to cursor, we should be able to see our Blender MCP in here, which is available. And then I don't think you can disable commands in here. So we do have one command, right? We do have one command that's called execute Blender code. And hopefully we'll be able to make that work again. And I think for... Gosh, we have so much stuff. We have so much stuff, and I don't remember what any of this is. I have to remember how we managed to load these into Blender. And I know that there's this document here. And we also have the agent. So maybe the first thing we're going to do is, let's see, we have a VSE utils, which is under the utils here. It does say scripts there is the absolute path of this, join the utils directory, import VSE utils. So we're going to try basically just like run test flicker effect. And I think we will say C docs how to test and iterate on new functionality using Blender MCP. And what I'll do after that is I'm going to delete a few files because this is just like a total mess. I'm going to delete like a lot of the tests that we have, or maybe I will keep this structure. Maybe the structure is not too bad. We do have, I will show you, I generated a book using deep research about using Blender for editing videos. We'll be looking back at that book. But for now, let's try just running some code in Blender. So hopefully this document, how to test and iterate on Blender MCP, is going to be telling us how to do things. So it's calling the execute Blender code, right? And like clears any existing data. It tries to load the scripts, and it will then try to run the test flicker effect. It's just like a little bit annoying that we can't like read this very well, but I think it imports the VSE utils and imports the VSE effects, and then it runs the main script from test flicker effect, import main, and then run main. So hopefully this worked. We have to connect to the MCP server. So now we can retry. Let me go back because I don't want the LLM to think that it failed. It failed because I was making a mistake, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm just using the documents I created last time, which have these very explicit names. I call them how to test and iterate on new functionality using Blender MCP, because it also tells me very quickly where things are. And I'm going to try to just run something that we used last week, which kind of creates a style of flicker effect. And it loads two videos, and then it will just like flicker between the two. So hopefully this works. And it tells us creating flicker effect. It loaded all of these little attributes over there, and then it ran it. So if we go to the video editing window, we do now have this like flicker effect, which at least, I mean, it doesn't really look like flickering too much, but it does what it's supposed to do. All right, so at least that works. And then I think for more utilities in here, I wonder what all these flicker effects are. So because I have so much code and I don't really know what all of this is about, I'm actually going to just ask the AI, right? What are all the tests in tests? Make a little README in that folder, and then tell me what is duplicated and could be removed, right? And that's a good way, right, to investigate your code base when you're coming back after a long time. And I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit. Is it's very easy to write a lot of code, like generate a lot of code, and like be lost into how much you build. I may be pretty extreme in that regard because I'm just like pretty fast building things with AI, and I call it like spaghetti projects. It's like I have so many projects, I forget how far I got into them. I forget that they exist, so I'll recreate them twice, and I'll do all of these things where even if I actually put effort into making it really nicely documented, that actually doesn't help because I have so much just nicely documented projects at this point, right? It's like you look at your package manager in Linux and you're like, all these cool programs. That's kind of what it looks like looking into my repos right now. And I don't know where that's going to go. It's like, it's so easy to create basically what I consider pretty good material in terms of software to kind of be overwhelmed, right? And so intent becomes more and more important, and also restraint, which is really hard for me. So you're accompanying me on my journey, and streaming about this makes me slow down a little bit, but it also makes me forget more because my brain's not fully there, not fully concentrating on what I'm doing. So let's look at the test files that now the AI has described for us, right? We have a test for various transitions, crossfade, gamut, crossfade, wipes. That's cool. I haven't tested that. Test flicker effect. So that's the one we tested, right? So maybe I'll add this add to-do items so that we can check off the tests as we go. We can basically use, right? Like I use cursor as this, I don't think of it just as like writing code. It's like basically, especially with MCPs, it's like my magical helper. It's pretty great. So I'm also going to start committing things as we go. And oh my god, already built so much more stuff, and I am so lost, man. But we're just gonna add all of this in here. We moved a couple of files. We added this README, and that's good enough for continuing, right? Where I'm actually going to start a branch. I'm going to call it stream 2025 and then it's add more Blender APIs. And here I'm going to add sparkles, which is a feature. Maybe it's not sparkles, it's just like Broom. Clean up the test files. I actually don't even know if Broom is an emoji. And then I'm actually already directly going to push this to a repo so that you can follow what I'm doing. And I'm actually going to add this as a link in the window here. This has got to be the worst UI ever. It's like Ecamm Live. Holy crap. So anyway, I pushed it. It's on a fork if you want to check it out. And also, you're always welcome to comment and ask some questions. And here we now have a to-do list of the different things that we could try. We could try the test transition utils, which I think I generated and didn't like to look too closely. We already like did the test flicker effect, but we're basically going to say, you know, like load test transition utils, and we're going to see what happens, right? So hopefully no, it's like loaded into Blender, right? So this prompt engineering, I was like, oh, is the prompt going to work? Load is like kind of ambiguous, but run XYZ in Blender, that's probably going to be good enough. And I probably don't need to load the file, but this will load the file into the context of the model, right? Because I said at, and then it's going to generate the tool call. I actually don't, like the model doesn't really need to know what this needs to do. And then get scene info is also like, I just wanted to execute the code, execute in Blender, and this is going to trigger the execute Python code in Blender. It's weird because it did like its call before, so it's generating a lot of stuff, but we'll see if that's enough. Name file is not. Add script directory. Yeah, no, this is not what you should do. You should. Yeah, I think. So it successfully imported test transition utils. And now we can execute it. So you can probably do this at once, right? It has different test functionalities, and then it has run file. Run file is the way to reload a module. Crazy. Great. Now that we've imported the test module, let's run all the tests. So let's try it. And if we look at what it's doing, oh, it's updating the to-do. That's interesting. strip not in scene, crossfade transitions. So I just want to test the cross script transitions, right? Like the crossfade transitions. So maybe we should have, seeing how this is organized, we can say test the crossfade, set up the test scene, and then do the crossfade. So it sets up the test scene. It checks if there's at least 2 clips. It makes an overlap of 1 second, and then it creates the crossfade after that. So we're going to say test just crossfade. And then we'll walk our way through. So this loading of files, I do want to make like a tool that's basically called like import file and then only have that exposed. But I don't want to get into modifying a third-party MCP just right now. I think this will work well enough for tonight, it seems. And we'll see what happens. So if we go in here, we should now have a crossfade script, which if we play this, all right, so that's cool. So that indeed works, right? So the crossfade works. We're going to try the gamma crossfade now. Run gamma crossfade, which should set up the test scene again, and the test scene should clear all the strips. So hopefully this also runs. Well, it's already going to clear them. So it's a little bit too clever here, but you know, code execution error. Cross video 1, video 2 is not in the test function. So I wonder what this means. Strip cross video 1, video 2 is not in scene. Is that because it has been deleted by this part over here? That is interesting, because I think in the setup test scene, clear all strips in the VSE utils, it will try to remove the strips. That is interesting. Error execution code, strip not in. This is horrible UI. Like working with this is just painful. So I suspect that it's in the clear all strips that this function fails, because it basically deleting the strips that do the crossfade between them also deletes the crossfade strip, right? So I suspect that the issue is in VSE utils clear all strips, where deleting video strips will delete the crossfade strip. Add logging to VSE utils, reload it, and then run crossfade, and plus clear the scene in one go. So we'll see if that works. Like I wanted to write a single Python file, or like a single block of Python, and then execute it over MCP. Because I want to keep the count of tool calls low. I don't know, because I like doing things efficiently. It's also because it actually really costs money, right? And not only just money, it costs time. This is interesting. I don't know what this all does. It's a little bit too much code to my taste. So I really wish it could show me what this code is. So it reloads. So now it's in its own little loop. Well, we'll see what it does. So I don't know if it should like handle all these dependencies in all these like crazy ways, or if it should just like ignore errors and like then make something simpler, right? So maybe that's something we could do. Also, be more lenient of errors if removing a strip is problematic. We don't want to fail because of a missing strip, just log, right? And I mean, it's good that we got back into a, what the fuck is it doing now? Now it removed everything. Oh, it selects all of them and then it deletes them. That's pretty clever, actually. And then did this work? All right, cool. So that has worked. Oh wait, no, it was running on its own. It ignored what I was telling it. But anyway, we are now going to go back to the transition utils, and we are going to test the gamma crossfade, right? That was like something that was buggy here. All right, now test the gamma crossfade. And if we run it and we look at this, we should now have a gamma crossfade. That was fast because I like that. I don't know what a gamma crossfade is, but I'll take it. What's the next one? So we're starting to fill our chat, right? Like we don't necessarily need to have all of this here now where we're fixing the VSE utils. Is like now we're going to just go back in our history. We're not going to revert the changes, right? It's like run the wipe transitions. And we're not going to revert because we want to keep the changes that we have, right? The only thing I'm doing here is like clearing the history, and I kind of want to keep the stuff that up here in there because it like kind of tells it how to call the Blender tool, and I kind of don't want to gamble that knowledge is going to be lost in a new chat. So now we do have the wipe transition, which is nice, right? Because now the cool thing that I can do as we're here is like add a second wipe transition at second 10. And it doesn't have a function that's called like add wipe transition, but we could create it at this point, right? And that's maybe a pretty good a good thing that we can do later on as we organize our code to use all of these utilities and say like, well, you know, we don't want the LLM to generate all of this code as it did right now. If you look at the code that it generated, it like, this is a lot of like little code, and I really wish we could not have these freaking new lines in here. Could we have this somehow more readable without asking the LLM? We could, but so now we have, as you can see here, we have a second wipe transition, right? Oh, what is, this is crazy. I'm not fully sure if this is like the order we want to have these things in. But we could potentially like move the new video below the other. Can start messing about with things like that. And because it has like a bunch of code now already in it, it is able to do these kinds of pretty flexible things where oh yeah, look, right? It's like, and now the transition is kind of gone because why? I don't know. I don't know enough Blender, but I think it's probably because this needs to go in here. Yeah, so that's all very interesting. Oh, see, it noticed that the wipe transition ended up being on channel 1, so maybe we'll undo that and then we'll let it do its thing, which now did something that didn't work at all. What the fuck did it do? All right, so this is interesting. This is also stuff that we want to avoid, right? It's like we give it all this freedom doing things and we maybe don't want to give it all this freedom. It was able to correct it, which is pretty impressive. Oh, but it put it back into the structure that we had before. So, all right, anyway, this was interesting. We can see all the work that is like left for us to do to make this like a useful tool instead of fighting around with like clips moving everywhere. And that's going to be like the main challenge as we go forward, right? It's like I'm going to try the color fade effect, and then because I don't have audio, I'm going to leave the audio effects for now, and it will be good to have the checkbox thing here to do this. So run color fade effects. We didn't change any code, so it won't even ask us to revert, which is nice. So it's setting up the code to color fade. All right, we're going to assume that that's the color fade. We say, okay, well, yeah, maybe this works. So I don't know why I decided to remove this, but we're going to add that part. So those were like kind of the effects from, I think, chapter 4 are these transitions parts. And we had transition utilities, which do create crossfade, create gamma crossfade, create wipe, which I don't think these, oh, they do use create wipe. So already create wipe was like a function that was created here that is like pretty low level. And to really fine tune those and to make sure that they work correctly, I would have to take a little bit of time. But also this API is like pretty decent at this point, right? Like I think strip 1 and strip 2 are not good names because it's like, even though it says it down here, being wiped away, being wiped in, you still, like if the parameters were called like wiped away strip and then wiped in strip, it would be immediately clear. And I think those kinds of like variable naming really reinforce how good the model is going to be able to do things, because it's just easier to look at it, right? Like if you already look at this is already like kind of hard to understand. It's like strip being wiped in. It like makes for a mouthful in terms of variable names, right? But it really helps the model and humans, right? I've always been a fan of like these kinds of long variable names, even though it makes the code a little bit unpalatable. It does it just makes the code like pretty easy to do all of a sudden, where you're like, okay, well, which one is being wiped away? Which one is being wiped in? Is it 1 or 2? That's gone. So we have create wipe, we have create gamma crossfade, we have create crossfade, and we have create audio crossfade, and we have create fade to color. And I wonder what our chapter 5 was about, because I think chapter 4 of our book, which is called the Blender Video API for Dummies book, has chapters. And I think chapter 4 was, let me see, transitions and fades, right? And then we have chapter 5, applying effects and adjustments, transforming clips, and then adding color and opacity effects. And chapter 6 is audio tracks and synchronization. working with multiple audio strips, and applying operations to multiple strips. This chapter will cover patterns for batch editing. So I think that's maybe where we will try to end up tonight. So we do have chapter 5, which is color effects, color transform effects to implement. I don't think we've implemented them yet. We do have in our tests, in our chapters, we do have chapter 5. Interesting. So we do have chapter 4, which is going to do the gamma crossfade, the wipe, the audio fade, the create fade to color. And wow, this file is like self-contained. Demonstrate crossfades. Demonstrate gamma crossfade. So this is a little bit the same as the test file we went through, right? So do these things. Yeah, we're going to just like run the whole chapter as well. So now we're going to go execute. Maybe I'll start a new chat and just see how that performs. Execute chapter 4 in Blender. Yeah, we do. What the heck? I mean, make sure that we have the files before that. Nice. No, but the Blender Utilities folder does exist. I'm not sure why you don't find it, because it's in scripts. It's in scripts utils, right? Not sure why I decided to use that. Yeah, it should ignore the Blender errors. No, so use the execute code in Blender tool. See, this is why I like the previous conversation is that it had already latched onto that. But so we'll see if it's able to run it this time. Communication error, named file is not defined. Yeah, so this is the file thingy is like a little bit weird. And probably needs to be refined, right? So indeed, this I was expecting that, where I was like, we're kind of lucky that it works like straight out of the bat in our previous chat. But what we're going to do after this is, so because here it's going to work, I think, right? It actually knows how to execute things correctly. And so we're just going to ask it like, please, can you explain how you execute things, and just update agent MD to explain how to use this tool. Because this is probably going to be the right magic to do it. And to avoid these kinds of issues we're seeing right now, that's why I want to have a custom MCP that really just loads a file and does this for us. So this is annoying, and I kind of killed the code that was like running it correctly because I'm an idiot. Man, I knew I was lucky before, and like an idiot, I kind of killed it. No. So I execute look at docs, how to test and iterate on functional and how to do that. You don't have access to file in the code you send to the tool. so this is pretty brittle, and it's like, it kind of shows that these like general purpose tools, they're nice because they allow you to do everything, and also they're very easy to confuse the LLM with. And we'll see if this works. Okay, so this works. And what we're going to do now is update agent.md to explain how to use the execute Blender code tool. Replace the standard import pattern section. All right, hopefully that will help in the future. All right, so what does this tell us? So that's maybe not something we should do. All right, cool. Clear scene state when needed. No. And that's good. All right, hopefully this helps. And so now we're going to go back to maybe a new chat. And we're going to add a new chat, actually. So execute chapter 4 in Blender. And the agent.md is loaded. No, run it all at once. Okay, well, yeah, maybe why not? Holy shit. Why does it fail every time? Yeah, because here it like ported the whole file. That's not what we want. So why was it able to run it so nicely before? I think maybe this is the nicer way to do it. Execute it here, because what did it do in that first call? Yeah, it should be like the pattern should be to load the requested file, update agent md so that you clarify that when asked to execute a certain file, the pattern should be to load the requested file into the path and then import from it to execute. I'm gonna add this as well. And maybe I should have spent that time to actually make a nicer MCP. It's just I'm a little bit sick, so my brain's not fully there, and that's why I wanted to avoid doing that. But maybe I should have done that. All right, so yeah, this file is a mess because like it's just too messy. I don't really fully understand all of this anyway because I don't know how Blender deals with paths, And then I don't think this is very clear to the LLM either, what's going on in here. Yeah, so it's like when asked to execute, follow this pattern, right? It's so we're gonna move it here. Executing specific files. Always use absolute paths. Yeah, I hope that this works, and maybe it's like worth like starting from scratch, showing only the agent MD, and then hoping that it's able to set this up. And I don't think this like breaking things into little steps is necessarily the best part, and this all comes from this line here. So let's see. Maybe it's good that it breaks off, because then it won't repeat them all the time. So I see that the script attempted to execute, but encountered an error when trying to work with a script named cross-clip1, clip2 that doesn't exist in the scene. This suggests that the script might need some video editing. And what is it doing? Where does the error happen? Error executing chapter 4, Blender book, into removing 9 existing strips. That's exactly the error that we had at the beginning, and which we might want to correct here as well. So let me see, chapter 4, Blender book. And so this happened with setting up test sequence. And then here we could actually just reuse the VSE utils removal thing, right? So what I'm going to say to the AI is like rewrite chapter 4 Blender book, like update, not rewrite, because that's like kind of a dangerous word to use. Update to use functionality from VSE utils, for example. Let's just like let it do like that. And we're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is like a tame, does its job well. I think like still kind of a pretty good workhorse. Maybe I should use 4.1. Maybe I should use like, I don't know. There's so many 8,000 million different models that who knows. But there we go. We're looking at the chapter 4 Blender book. And we're having it being rewritten to use our utilities. And we'll see. I actually wanted to run with chapter 5, right? Oh, well. We're going to do the same with chapter 5 then after that. Actually, we could do the same. I've never tried the background agent, so maybe we can, I don't know how that works. Requires the workspace to be open at a git root. Okay, well, not today then. Maybe we'll use amp code and we'll be like rewrite or update chapter 5 to use utilities from VSE utils when possible. And we're going to update that as well. So we have 2 agents running, working on different files in here. And that way they won't clash with each other, right? And that allows us to do like a little bit more work at the same time. So if we look at what it did here, and it's good that it like does mention that, it's like it removed duplicate functions because they're imported, right? And then it replaced some of those with helpers or the manual code with this. So this is all pretty good, and I knew I could trust 3.5 to do a pretty good job here, to be like reasonable. I wonder what 3.7, which is what amp code uses, is going to do. So we'll see. I'm sure it's going to add stuff. Is my feeling is that it's going to start adding features to chapter 5. So we'll see. So now we're going to say, all right, try again. Right, which is because we ran it over the MCP at the beginning. Now we're going to do that. This seems like pretty tame. No, we need to fix. No. Try again. No need to fix imports. Try to execute again. And that's something that's like important to tell it, like, yeah, don't worry about the imports because they're always going to be broken, because this is going to be executing under the guise of Blender. So it's going to execute this. It's going to set the files, load the files, you load the utility, and then execute the chapter 4 main. So fingers crossed. And we've seen we've encountered an error with floating point frame numbers. Let me fix this by ensuring all frame numbers are integers before creating effects. And so this happened in Strip's top level new effect, which that's not how it should do it, right? It should like fix the script first. So error executing chapter, error with keyword argument frame start. And I think this might be in demonstrating. All right, so we're going to say like fix chapter 4 and then execute again. Always first fix chapter 4 and then execute again. And here in the meantime, it has like simplified a bunch of stuff. The problem is going to be like the imports cannot be resolved. So I hope it doesn't try to fix that because it's not going to be able to fix that. So we'll see. And this is the joy of running two things at once. It starts to get like pretty confusing. Yeah, I mean, sadly, we do have to wait. We just like look at these spinning little white boxes and then hope that stuff is happening nicely. So it has been updated, and if we look at chapter 5 in the Blender book, we do have the from imports from a volume named, yeah, I don't know how to tell VS Code that it should like what the import paths are. Is there something like Python path, markdown runner, extra path, additional import extra path? Is that something that we can do for the workspace? Step path, extra path. And then can we just do scripts? Utils? Does that work? Holy shit, it does. All right, well, that's cool. So now it fixed this to be an integer, right? Which is pretty important, the fact that this breaks. And this is the kind of errors that an MCP, if we just gave it like pure Python access all the time, would be pretty easy to just miss. That's why we're going to have APIs that are fairly robust to the garbage that the LLM can throw at it, which allows us to do much more flexible code generation. And then I'll show you, hopefully today, actually, I'll show you like a little trick on how to make sure that like the LLM can almost only generate like good code. So we're having floating point numbers at a different function now. We're still getting floating point errors. Can't you like just add more logging? So yeah, if it fails once more, I'll tell it to add more logging, and that will help it like pinpoint it as well. We're still getting floating point errors. All right. So maybe we should switch to something else as well. So I see we're still having issues. All right, so first fix blah, blah, blah by adding a lot of logging code around the frame editing and then execute again. I don't know if I want to revert actually. I'm not going to revert the, actually I'm going to revert the code as well. Well, it didn't even ask me for that, so. And then now that it's going to have the logging, right? Because we don't have like a stack trace of where it goes wrong, that kind of stuff. So I think it's hard for the model to understand where something might not be working because there's so many like frame start and all of these strips here that adding logging is probably going to help it along to understand where it is in the execution and which function might be problematic. So that's why when I'm experimenting with code in LLMs, I just add a ton of logging code, because it allows me to feedback error messages much more easily and quickly pinpoint the problem, right? So in a way, it's like very similar to how humans do it. Like printf debugging is always like, I think, pretty nice. And then you can see that there's an error. See, it's already able to like find a ton of stuff here and then correct them all at once. And then we're going to do the same here. Add a lot of logging code so that when we run into issues, we can pinpoint things more easily. I don't know why I'm being so nice tonight, because usually I would say 3 words. It's probably because I'm tired. I'm being polite to the LLM, which is useless. All right, and so now if we run it, code execution error attribute frame start is, what did it change? Why did it change that? Okay. And then here we get an overloaded from Anthropic, so that's cool. Oh, playing with fire with emojis. All right, that's a nice function name, right? Like even though it's just like in float of the value, this like clearly states the intent, and having the intent encoded in the function name makes it easier for the LLM to find. Because we're communicating with intent with the LLM, right? Like we don't want to say how it should do something, we say what we want it to do. And as such, having functions that encode intent make it easier for the LLM to find the right functions as well. So I wonder why it's struggling so much, and if I should care more, or if I should just like vibe my way through as I'm doing right now. Because I wonder if I'm like destroying things. I don't know where the crossfade creation is like still problematic, because we had like a pretty good crossfade before, right? In the utils, in the transition utils. So we might want to indicate it there. But I wonder where it says that this is like an issue with the floating point stuff. This is horrible to look at. Like I wish there was like a better UI for these MCP tools, because it really is like not fun. I should probably use my MCP proxy to make like a nice UI for that. Which maybe is something we could actually give as a task. Like I wonder if I should go to something that's like more reasoning oriented here. The only remaining issue is with the wipe transition. I wonder if I had to use like something like Gemini or Claude 3.7 thinking, if they would have done a better job as at understanding all of these things. That might actually be interesting to try. I'm going to commit it. Now we're going to rewind it, and then we're going to launch a different model and see what happens. Just to follow with this concept of what I'm always doing, which is experimenting with models to get a sense of how they behave, even if it means like undoing work that I already did or so. This is just as much learning about the AI than, getting stuff done. Because imagine if I wasn't experimenting, this experimenting doesn't take me much time, but it takes me less time than like one AI rabbit hole. It takes me less time than knowing how to prompt something correctly. So most of my engineering these days is like this kind of meta engineering, where I try to do something with the AI until it breaks, and that will tell me either I will try to see how to make it not break, or I will file it as like, okay, well, this is a little bit too far right now, so the next time I run into a task, I'll know to dial it back. And so develop this sense of like what is possible, what is not possible. And at the same time, I also hone my skill of doing this meta scale, right? It's like the meta scale, which is new models come out all the time. How do you quickly gauge what they can do? Because benchmarks don't really help you, right? It's like, how do they behave in the day-to-day? What can I use them for? There's like different tasks for different models. Those are all some things to learn, like skills, right? The script is now successfully demonstrating all the transition types. So that's pretty cool, actually. So that would be like our first transition. Second transition, we have one at the beginning. All right, we have a fade in. Then here we have oh, how do we make this longer? All right. And you'll have to bear with me, like it's been so long since I used Blender. So if we scroll here, fade to black, blue, and then if wipe, yeah, this is nice. This is nice. And then it's going to have to fade out transparent, right? And it has like these audio fades as well. That's really cool. We don't hear audio. Oh no, so never mind. But wipe target audio, yeah, this is all pretty nice. Like I like it. It really is starting to come together, right? And I'm maybe not going to. So actually, I'm going to have like now write up all the things you had to change and fix in this conversation in a file in ttemp 250520 C1Y. Write up cleaning up the transition chapter.md. So just so that I kind of have, next time I open it, I'll at least see that we cleaned up the transition chapter during the session. And I'll also just basically have a write-up of what it did to help me understand the problem at hand a little bit better. And I will try, as I'm starting to get more organized around the streaming, I will try to get this workflow going well, take the transcript of the stream and like save it inside the repo to say like, look, this is what we did during the last stream. These were the Git commits we did. These were like the things we talked about, and start to get like more and more organized around all of this. I've also started like building some tools, going back to the spaghetti project thing from before is like, I don't remember exactly where they are and how far I got them, but hopefully I'll get better at that. So here we do have a chapter 8, which is going to be the primary issue with floating point numbers causing errors in Blender's VSE. Several fixes were implemented, added ensure integer frame, strip removal and cleanup, transition creation. And we saw that we had a transition utils library earlier, which might benefit from these improvements, right? So I might as well just ask that. And I switched to a thinking model just to make it like a little bit more spicy. I'm still having all this context from the conversation in here, like all these fixes, one after the other, the runs. I kind of want to, maybe I will benefit from it or not. And now I will say like, look, based on all this information that you did, like revisit transition utils and tell us what you could improve, right? So now we can say revisit transition utils, and maybe I'll zoom in my IDE a tiny little bit, I think. Revisit transition utils in light of these changes and see how you can make it better, things that don't match, etc. Write this up in proposal for improving transition utils.md. So I don't want it to write code just yet. Also, I'm going to do this Git commit that I was talking about. So we do now have basically stream task overview. That's the thing that does the stream task overview. I guess I'm pretty good at naming things. This is our current standpoint, and we did like a bunch of stuff that we can probably git diff -- cached -- dot. These are the changes that we did. An interesting thing that we can do if we put this in the clipboard, and then I can say create pull request from clipboard, which is, I'm not going to create a pull request, but I do want to have a description of what we're doing. So I'm going to say cleaned up chapter about Blender video transitions. Just as a guide, we see we have 18,000 tokens that are going to be used to create the pull request. But we're not interested in a pull request here. I just want to have this, like, I tweaked this prompt quite a bit to have it generate like good summaries of changes. I don't know what's up with Anthropic tonight. And then we can use this to kind of like as a commit message, right? It's not a PR, it's a commit, but that's like kind of the same thing. And see, last week I ported this to Go, and I don't know where I put it because this is a shell script. I ported it to Go, and I don't remember where I put it. This is horrible. So we can see focuses on improving the reliability of video transitions in the Blender VSE, fix the frame number handling, implement safer strip removal, enhance transition creation, improve auto transition, code quality, add extensive logging, all of those. So it's a little bit sloppy, right? It's a little bit sloppy, so we're going to clean up the slop a little bit. So I'm just going to say improve the reliability and improve video transitions in the Blender VSE Python scripts. So fix the frame number handling. This goes away. Implement safer strip removal. Sure, why not? Enhance transition creation. That means nothing. Improve audio transition reliability with proper, yeah, that's okay. Add extensive logging. Status. Standardize frame calculation, strip creation patterns, add comprehensive error logging, update documentation, developer experience. So that's pretty good. That's interesting. Add detailed explanation. No. Mark completed test cases. Add write-up. Oh yeah, so that's good. And we're going to leave this. I'm going to take this PR, I'm going to take the body field, right, which is this. I'm going to clip it. And now I'm just going to commit it. Git commit. And then it's going to wait for the editor. We're going to paste this message that we prepared. And we're just going to, summary line is too long, commit anyway, of course. Oh, why are you still running, my friend? Goodbye. Is there still some Ruby running? I'm sure I'm going to have like a ton of Ruby defuncts. No, not even. All right, so now we committed this, right? We have like a nice commit, message. And we're now going to use these changes that we like laboriously did and apply them to our cleaned up library, which is called transition utils. And we're going to see what Gemini is going to do out of it. So Gemini is always pretty cool because the thinking traces that it's going to show us now, because it has a lot of material to work with, are actually thinking traces that will teach us about the code we just generated. And it seems that they've gotten like worse lately. They're different. And I don't like it. Is it because this is the newer May model? If I go back to this one here, if I go back to the March one, no, they changed the way. This was weird. Oh man, if they change the thinking traces, I'm gonna cry. And there's like a ton of Google stuff has been announced today. Man, I just can't keep up. I'm just like so. Yeah, this is annoying. If it's not thinking the same way it did before, I'm gonna be really pissed because it was my favorite thing was reading Gemini thought traces. And today they felt different. I don't know if it's Cursor or if it's Gemini. because this doesn't, it's not fun to read. It's like not very structured. And before it had like all these nice little bullet points and all of that. So maybe if I switch to the max mode. No, man, this is, oh, so it hadn't read it, right? Okay. Yeah. This frustrates me a little bit. Did it read it in its entirety? It did. So anyway, we'll see some of the thinking here, so that's not too bad. But the frame number handling, the current function uses int for frame number conversion, but this might not be robust enough for all cases, is it? Strip overlap attempts to adjust strip position if they don't overlap enough. This can lead to unexpected behavior and might better be handled by the calling script. Remove automatic strip adjustment from the utility function. Instead, add clear warnings or raise extension exceptions. Yeah, like that. Error handling and logging. This could be more robust. Wipe transition parameters. Use the strip 1, strip 2. Yeah, so it's going to tell me that. Doc strings are present but could be more detailed. Consistency. Some logic is now redundant or inconsistent with a more robust handling in chapter. Yeah. And then I would say, like, actually, so apply it, but actually update transition utils to be the canonical robust version and use it in chapter 4 as an example, as and import them instead. And I'm going to stay with Gemini. Why not? Man, I hate it. Are my Gemini thought trace, those were like my favorite things. And now they're like so nil and like unstructured and uninteresting. Holy shit. I'm going to cry. I'm really going to cry. This is bad. Yeah, this is like useless. This makes me mad. So before it had this like very bullet pointy, lots of variable names, lots of symbols mentioned, and now it's these blocks. They're really hard to read. And it doesn't really say anything of value, right? It's like just saying like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm focusing on this. So it's like kind of this meta description that hides the actual thinking that was like the valuable thing to look at. This is really, really pissing me off, actually. This is really fucking pissing me off. This is useless. Like I'm not learning anything from this, right? Before I was learning a ton about the code base. Now I'm not learning. And it's really annoying. I'm really mad, actually. And it's weird because it's supposed to be this model the same, right? Oh, I am mad. This was my favorite thing. This like literally made me feel like an engineer again. Because now I'm back to like slot machine behavior. It's like you're not telling me anything. Like if you fail, then I'll have to figure out why. And I mean, hopefully the open source models will help, huh? I'm actually gonna rant about this. All right. Man, I don't know where we're gonna go. I can't like stay on X. It's just like so much stuff going. All right, I need to close this X thing. Yeah, this is I hate this. It doesn't tell me anything. Absolutely useless. So what did it do? Added ensure. Holy crap. Holy shit. Man, it really did a number on this one, didn't it? YOLO? Oh, it's not letting me accept it. All right. So the thing I'm curious about here is just will this model tell me more? Like, is it just the latest one? Or is it just like in either Google or Cursor decided to just like censor the thinking? What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind, but first I'm going to just commit the changes here, which is going to be art and poop, which is untested refactor by Gemini Pro to use more transition utils. We haven't tested it, and I don't want to burn a Gemini request. So yeah, I'm going to update that, and I'm going to go to 03 proposal for improving transition utils, because I haven't added that. Hold on. Ttemp. And we're just going to amend it. All right. And we're going to put it into number 2. And then are we going to revert? No. Oh, no, we should revert. Right? Oh, we can't. Haha. So we're just going to check out the previous version. So previous version of, what was it? Scripts, chapters, chapter 4, blend a book, and then scripts, utils, transition utils, py. All right, so we reverted it. Let's go. And yeah, they censored the thinking traces. Holy crap, I hate it. So just to give you an idea, if we go to DeepSeek now, because Clathy Sonnet Thinking has the same issue, right? It like just censors a lot and it doesn't tell you anything. So I'm really upset. You don't understand how upset I am. If we use DeepSeek, you'll probably see the kind of thinking that I was interested in, except DeepSeek is like yaps even more. But maybe there's something interesting to see, right? And so this is the kind of thinking that I actually want to read, where I want to have like a lot of detail and just someone walk me through, not necessarily finding the right stuff, but just like give me an overview of the function that exists, of what they do, of all of these things. So, and Gemini was doing these like brilliant traces, and now they're like the DeepSeek traces are more useful, right? Because it actually doesn't tell me like what it's doing and thinking about. It's like actually showing me the thinking. And the reason they censor it is so that no one trains on these traces. And I was like, oh, it's wild that like Google exposes these crazy traces. They're great, and now they're gone. So we'll probably have to like surface it through documents and stuff like that, which is actually we're going to try that. And this is the kind of stuff, at least I like reading that much more. Here, the formatting is like not great. The Gemini stuff I really liked because it was like very bullet pointy. It was like bolded. I could like very quickly scan through it. So, well, good to know that DeepSeek is actually a little bit more useful than I thought it would be. It's just not going to be that great. So, however, if we go back to Gemini 2.5 Pro, revisit, and then write this up, and then after the write-up, right, it was like pretty good for the proposal and the explanations. So that might be a way to leverage it still, because I know it does the thinking under the hood and then just expose it through a document that explains its thinking. All right, well, that's really, really sad. I really, really hate it. So what did we change? Why did I git log? Yeah, so git checkout scripts. Git checkout. What is different in ttemp? Oh, I just made a typo. All right. Well, we are at, we can open maybe a new chat, and then hopefully if we do agent MD and then we say like execute chapter 4 Blender book in Blender, and we go back to Sonnet 3.5, for example, is it going to be able to load this is the first thing. And then the second is like this refactored chapter 4 good. I wonder why it always does get say info. We don't care. That's why having a well-named MCP tool really is the bee's knees. Holy shit, is it outputting the entire script in there? Yeah, no, it's like, that's not what I want. Execute chapter 4. Yeah, because every time we're at the mercy of every time we're at the mercy of like basically prompt engineering, that's like kind of complex because I don't even know what the best way would be to do it, and I can't read this shit every time. You can tell I'm upset. that I lost my Gemini 2.5 Pro thinking traces were like they were like my highlight of the day. It's like losing a good friend. It really is like losing a good friend. Or like a good colleague, you know? It really is like that. I'm a bit distraught. All right, so we should have 5 video color strips on channel 1, which we do. They overlap all a little bit. We have 4 audio strips that are aligned, which is great. 2 transition effects on channel 3, 1 wipe transition on channel 4, and then we have 2 color strips for fades on channel 5 and 6. This is great. This is really, really fun. All right, I love it. So good time to commit. I guess we don't have anything to commit because this works well, right? All right, so now we're going to do the same thing for chapter 5, right? We're going to execute chapter 5 now. And what you can see here is like actually the context window here is fairly small. Even though I loaded the file, that's pretty much all there is. This is like fairly short, and then we just get like the output of executing it. So, right, we can do now execute chapter 5 and see what happens. And then maybe we'll have to rewrite chapter 5 because this dude has been like going ham on chapter 5. I have no idea what's going on here. It added like its own kind of like logging and stuff. So this is AMP code. This is Sonnet 3.7. So I'm kind of curious to see what this is going to do. And then this is executing like chapter 5 main. So yeah, frame numbers being floats instead of integers. So that's like a standard thing, it seems like, right? That frame numbers should be integers. And that's indeed what we've been doing in the transition utils and why it's like nice to have functions that take care of all of that for you. So we're continuing. As for people who are joining, we're working on a video editor in Blender, or like at least a set of Python files that allow us to do video editing using an LLM in Blender. And the way we're doing this, we're generating Python and we're sending the Python over to Blender to execute it. And then we can vibe code Python that basically edits the video at hand. It's all like a little bit magic, but the next step we're going to do, now that we have like a certain set of functionality, right? We have like loading strips, we have cutting them, we have transitions, and then now we're going to have color effects, which I hope work. We have a good set of functionality to really start doing some work. And you've seen that the Python is still pretty brittle, right? And it gives us a lot of functionality, but it also is still a little bit of a gamble. And especially if I'm starting to edit a video, I don't want to gamble every time and like restart my video from scratch, right? Like I do want to have like a fairly consistent way of working through my video where I can save the file, where I can like basically make progress instead of just gambling with code coming out of an AI. And I'll show you a pretty impressive, or like not impressive, a pretty really, really cool pattern to do this kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what it's doing here, what the problems are. It's doing... So this looks like a thinking model task, right? So it didn't fix anything, by the way. This is execute when running into errors, update the file, and then run it again. Don't send raw Python code to Blender. And we're going to turn on, you know what, Sonnet 3.7 thinking. I don't know. And I guess I could have, well, no, I don't want to give AMP code the Blender MCP just yet. Maybe we can try, you know. That's something we could try, actually. If I go here and we can enable the Blender MCP. Actually, that's how I was doing it last time, I think. That's how I was coding last time, I think. Because I just had this guy. See, so Sonnet 3.7 thinking may be interesting, but you also have these like censored thinking traces. Like we don't see anything of the thinking, which is really sad. I was like mourning the loss of Gemini 2.5 Pro, which apparently now is censoring its thinking traces, and I'm really mad about it. I actually hate this. So let me actually Google that. Gemini Pro thinking thought traces censored. Has there be something that came out? And then just ask O3 while we're at it. Wait. Why do I have to log in? This was from March. Gemini has been censored. 1 year ago. No. Gemini 2.5 Pro. Because this is recent. I think I saw it yesterday or so. All right, well, whatever. See, and then what was nice about Gemini is that while I was thinking, I could like follow the traces and I could like see all of this stuff going on. Now I can't. So probably I'll have to investigate if it's like due to Cursor, or if it's something that they changed in the API. And I haven't implemented Gemini API in my open source stuff. So actually, let's see. I think I had a branch where like let an agent do it. I'm not gonna diverge my thinking more right now. And in 20 minutes, I'll just call it a day as well because I'm a little bit sick. Cool. You weren't able to edit the file. That's great. All right, so we have ensure integer frames, and then we have the transform. So hopefully that works. And then we'll use mcode and see what that gives us. What is it fixing here? What is it fixing? It's fixing a lot of stuff here. Create picture-in-picture effect. Where was that function coming from? Create picture-in-picture from effect utils. Okay. So that's actually not what I want. And adding the try catch is just like so annoying in Python, and then Cursor doesn't do like white space hiding. Apply transform effect. Transform strip has no attribute use. Why is it not able to find that? Use glow effect. We're going to let mcode run on this because then mcode is going to be able to check out these things. I'm sure there's still the translation error in here though, isn't there? Man, this UI is so annoying. Yeah, it still has an error here. Applying transform to clip 1. Okay, well, anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and then it's like execute the file in Blender using Blender execute tool and fix the remaining issues. And actually, maybe we should start a new script because execute the file chapter 5 Blender books and fix the remaining issues. Then, yeah, let's try that. Use the execute code to potentially debug the objects. Yeah, there's a lot of try catch, which, yeah, why not? Maybe it's a good idea. This is like Sonnet 3.7 is just like its tendency of doing too much. But also it prints out like the stack traces, so that's maybe not the worst idea, right? So I did find an issue with the transform effect. Let me fix the problem and improve the code. We're back at gambling. Like that was the good thing about Gemini, was really being able to look at it, but it seems to have been gone. Has this changed in the last week or so? I used to see way more in cursor when using Gemini 2.5 Pro. I will see. Great, I've fixed the issues in the Blender script. Fixed the transform. The script successfully demonstrates the... All right, so what does it tell us? What does it show us? So we do have a rotation. We have a little text, which is nice, right? How do I scroll up? Oh yeah, we had like a little bit of text. This is a slowdown. Now we have a glow. I don't really see the glow. Do we see the glow? It's gonna disappear soon. I don't know, I haven't seen the glow really. You see this like glow effect? Is it supposed to do anything? Oh yeah. There we go. Okay, interesting. I like that it added the text. And then speed slow clip. Speed fast clip to X. I don't know if that does anything. This doesn't seem like half speed. And then this doesn't seem twice the speed. Effect strip, speed control stretch, interpolation. I don't know how this is supposed to work. Time, show retiming keys. I don't know, this doesn't seem to fully work. So, speed effects. All right, so does this tell us a list of, make an overview of the scene now that it has run? What am I expected to see? Add this to the doc string on top. then update effects utils to actually incorporate the improvements we did. And that's going to be for the last 15 minutes. Hopefully we'll get to something that's where we're going to continue next time, which is now that we have all this massive code, right? It's still pretty brittle, as you've seen. It's like, is the glow quality like 8 or 0.8, or like what are all these things? Like, I don't know why it changed that, for example. But if we do want to really edit a video, this is going to be a little bit too brittle, right? Like if I want to edit like a YouTube short, I want something where I can be like 100% sure almost that the LLM is going to do the right thing every time I ask it to change something. And having it write code is nice when you're in like kind of an experimental phase. So maybe I am in like an experimental phase where I want to like experiment with different transitions, or maybe like different font sizes, or like how to add a shadow effect, or all of these kind of things, which is still nice to be able to do in cursor with the LLM and then see the changes being applied in Blender until I like it. But when I do actual editing work, I want something much more constrained, much more safe, right? And so the way I like doing that, and actually we can do this while this little thing runs here, we're going to use Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and what we're going to do is we're going to say create a YAML DSL to represent a video being edited in Blender, with strips, transitions, cuts, audio like effects, etc. And then here I'm going to link the book, the Blender Video API for Dummies, just because it like has a good overview of everything that's possible. This YAML DSL will represent, it already did. Write up the DSL, the specification, and a lot of concrete examples in TTemp 25052003 YAML DSL for representing videos to be edited in blender.md. And so what I'm basically asking the model here is like invent a language, because DSL stands for domain specific language. I'm like, invent a language that will be representing the video as we're editing it. And because it's in YAML, it's not code, I can validate it, I can preview it, I can save it, and it's going to be like basically a representation of like, I think the timeline, maybe some effects that are applied. I don't really know what language is going to come out. And I kind of want the LLM to generate that language, because if the LLM's generating that language, it kind of means that it's possible that an LLM generates it. So I kind of avoid potential construct that I think are cool, but that are going to just be hard for an LLM to understand. Here, I kind of like leverage like whatever's going to appear from the randomness of whatever I ask is going to be something that LLMs are relatively decent at. So that's where we're going to be curious. I used 3.7, which tends to just like do a little bit too much in terms of DSLs. It creates this like giganormous specifications, but also maybe that's interesting enough, right? I'm really annoyed that we can't like look at the thinking trace here right now, but excuse me, we'll see what comes out. And so what I can do afterwards is like the what I'll show you. I don't think we'll implement it today in the last 10 minutes, but if we look at it, this is kind of what it looks like, right? Is it describes, say, a project with the render settings. I don't know if they're that important or not, but it will like define different channels. Then it will tell like which strips are loaded at which point in time. Maybe the start frames and all of this is like, maybe also we can allow for a start time in frames or in time, you know. And then it will allow us to like maybe trim strips, add effects, right? Which is, and so this this YAML DSL, the cool thing is that you can modify these things very easily with the LLM, right? And potentially we can the file is going to be written on disk, right? We're going to modify it with the LLM, which is like pretty. Oh, sorry. I just saw that someone was chatting. Hey, Dutton, how's it going? Let me see if I can add you to the broadcast. So yeah, that's a good idea, right? Like would you want to make the AI track its edits in the database so you can maybe see the video edits timeline which the AI worked on? That's with this YAML DSL, it's going to be very easy because from this YAML file, I can recreate the entire scene. Is kind of the idea, right? Like every time I snapshot this YAML, I should be able to recreate the entire thing. And of course, this might be like time consuming if like every time I reload this YAML, I have my script rebuild everything in Blender. So we could start to be clever about like modifying the edits and computing that out. But I can basically save the entire sequence of edits into a database and replay them, right? Yeah. So it's exactly what I was thinking. So I don't know if you can call the YAML DSL a persona of a certain kind of video editor. You certainly can. I think of it, right? Like this is where your creativity is like given free roam, and where the way you think about a video should be reflected in this DSL as well. So, and this is really where the fun part comes. Like this is a pretty boring DSL, right? Like it's nice. It's very, very standard. It's also like going to be very inefficient if we have like a lot of strips or things like this, but you could, and this is where it starts to get really funny, is you can start experimenting with it, right? It's like, I actually edit sci-fi movies with a lot of VFX layers, and I like to group my tracks and strips by mood and tension, create a DSL that represents that, and store in 04 YAML DSL for sci-fi movie editing.md, right? So you can start to basically create the language that's yeah, you're welcome. Like I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I didn't see your questions before. That's why I do it. This approach, like YAML DSL in a way, is like a word like abracadabra. It's just a way to quickly get the LLM to generate these concise things. Like it looks like computer gobbledygook, and in a way it is, right? Like it's a formal language, but actually think of it more as this is a very, very simple grammar of English, of natural language. If you don't know computers and you look at this, you can be like, oh, well, it looks like we're crossfading from photo 1 to photo 2 for 24 frames, right? Like it's kind of literally there in English. But because it has this like formal structure and has been trained on like config files and all of these things that YAML is used for, it allows you to be very efficient and very, very precise in your prompting, right? It's like if you tell it like, oh, you need to have a source and a target field, this thing is going to put in a source and a target field, right? However, if you say like, oh, please transition from photo 1 to photo 2 for 24 frames, and you do this like in natural language in English, and then you have like some kind of Blender MCP at the other end, anything could happen. If I say it like, fill this transition out based on this YAML schema, it will absolutely put in a source and a target. And if it doesn't, I can actually check up front and I can say like, dude, you need a source field, right? Like I can very easily write code that validates this in between English and computer code is how I think of it. And based on these fields, right? Like if I say, oh, well, we have like monsters, and then under monsters, we have strips, and it's like super annoying because we can't look at it. So let me open a browser because that's where I really like doing these things, is like in Claude AI. And I'll show you, is like make a YAML DSL to edit horror movies. I don't know. Well, let's see what comes out, right? And so if you're, say, an editor that really likes to think in terms of like, I don't know, I'm not a video editor, but if you like thinking in terms of like tension building up, or like maybe you have like chapters, right? Like you think in terms of the video in terms of like chapters and B-roll. So right here, the fact that I added horror makes all the difference, right? Because suddenly it is very much steered towards, well, I didn't say, no, it said edit, right? So suddenly you have something that's like, oh, like there's a jump cut thing, which is very, very different from saying like, oh, trim your strip from XYZ, XYZ. And the fact that this represents the way you think about how the film works will allow you to be better at prompting the LLM to do this. What's left is like, okay, well, now you have to implement jump cut in code, right? But it's not necessarily that hard depending on the material that you have. Because here comes the cool thing is like, if you start naming your clips after certain words, for example, right? So let's say we have the clips. Hold on, let me grab like a video editing book. So for someone who's not into movies, I do have like a fair amount of video editing books, but I don't know anything about it. So, but just to have like the name of cuts, right? Like, so the jargon of a certain domain, really the jargon, right? Like the words are really, really important for designing these kind of things, because what you want to do if you use something like jump cut, you're going to retrieve all the literature from the training corpus about jump cuts. However, if I use like strip duration, like that's kind of very uninteresting, right? Oh, that's hilarious. What do you do? Like a DSL for adding lasers? What does that even mean? That sounds wild. So in the meantime, I'm going to say that we have the clips like white scene, house. Then we have like tight frame shot monster head. Then we have like corridor pan scroll. I don't know what else could we have, like shoulder shot. I don't even know what that means. Like main hero. Create a jump cut scare sequence, right? So by virtue of naming my video clips like this, right? Like .mp4, 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 the names of the files plus my DSL to do horror film sequences allow me to basically say like, look, bro, you got like these files here. I've kind of like pre-cut them or whatever, like just create, please, a jump cut scare sequence. And it will actually be able to kind of do something that's probably, right, like at least useful, where it's going to be actually using cinematography rules with the jargon that I gave it to kind of start putting these things in, right? And then, I mean, here it seems to mix. You know, this is not pure editing. It says like lighting things is like, is not something I can do in editing, but it basically allows me, just based on a couple of file names and the fact that I just said like, look, I'm editing horror movies, right? Like if you look at my prompting, actually, like what I input as a prompter, it's like freaking edit horror movies, because this is just like template, right? Like make a YAML DSL to blah, 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 edit horror movies. And then I just put in my file names and say like create a scare sequence, right? Oh, that's hilarious. So what was the DSL for? Like for scripting a video editor? So what I'm doing here in the meantime, right, is like once you have this DSL and you kind of can edit it, right? Like you would take the specification, you would say like, well, what is the fucking startle factor? I have no idea. But maybe the starter factor is also something interesting and you don't want to have this, or like, I don't know exactly what you can create out of all of this, but once you like tweak it, maybe you regenerate it, or like you, right, like you modify it, after that, pretty much just a single example is actually already a decent spec, but you can create a spec, but you can also create like a ton of different ways of visualizing it. Like even if I implement it so that I can take this YAML file and, you know, import it into Blender and do it, I can actually maybe use a different application to visualize it, right? So here I just asked it for like a React app, which is like a little bit jank, but you get the idea, right? Like this is maybe more the way that I want to look at it. And the thing that's cool here, not that this is going to work, obviously, but depending on the application that I want, right? So for example, I can create a visualization React app. Why can't I edit the previous things anymore? Did they change that? Why can't I go back in time? Oh, now I can. Okay. What you can do is like create a React app to print out timing. Oh my God, what did I do? Timing sheets. So you can, just by virtue of having encoded basically all you care about in your application in this like semi-formal syntax, not only allows you to modify it very quickly with an LLM, but it also allows you to have all these different output modalities because it really encodes what you are interested in. Oh, cool. Oh, that's crazy. So you really are a Blender video editor and you use like DSLs to do it. That's crazy. You need to teach me all of this. Yeah, so what I did for the Blender API versions, right? Like I don't know if you I think I did 2 streams on this already. In the first stream, basically to make sure that we were using 4.4, the latest API, I imported the Blender code, basically checked out the code from GitHub and then pointed the AI at it and said like, you know, like go look up what the actual API is right now. And so here, this is another example of like all the things you can do with just this DSL. Is like, well, it actually also encodes like, you know, a nice sheet of like which movie to do, print the timing sheets. I don't know what printing a timing sheet even means, but I can even like import the YAML in here. And then I can say like, oh, make a short movie about alien aquatic, I don't know, sharks. You can very quickly create, no, like not that, as YAML, please. Oh, that's amazing. Like I have no idea how to do YouTube Shorts, but what I wanted to do is like take the transcription, right, which gives me timestamps on where to cut things, then cut the video at these points in time, or maybe generate something that, you know, give me instructions of what to record to these words. and then basically assemble it pretty quickly, where I would be able to take one of my long ramblings, make some interesting video to it, and then maybe use the audio that I was using back then, or just re-record it and be able to assemble it pretty quickly in Blender was kind of the idea, where it would tell me, record this strip and like record this clip and record this clip and record this clip, and then I will just assemble them for you and then render it out into a short. So we'll get there. I think I'm getting pretty close, actually. Holy shit! Like Sauna 3.7 is just like so doing too much. Does this even load? Is this not even going to load into the React app, is it? If I paste it in here and then I import it, no, that failed. Okay, well that was interesting. Like we're getting somewhere. I think in the next session, since I'm going to stop here, we'll start actually editing some real videos, I think. And so I'll have to prepare some material. I'm streaming every week on Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. EST, and then Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. EST as well. And I'm also streaming on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. EST. So I think on Thursday, we're not going to work on the Blender MCP. We're going to work on my agent framework in Go. But I think next Saturday, we're going to be working on the Blender video editor again. I'm trying to like limit the number of projects that I do, but I also don't want to, I want to keep the variety in here. So we'll see. Like, it was great to have you, Dutton. It was, I really want to hear more about your stuff. This sounds like you're doing the thing that I want to do. So it was great having you, and have a good night. Yeah, sure, of course. Like DM me on X. I'm programmed with AI. I don't check YouTube all that much. So do you have my X? Because I'm still all setting it up, so I don't know if it's like linked on my YouTube yet or not. But this is my X here, so. All right. Well, I hope you have a good night, and see you next time.